Hey everybody, Effortless Rollers here again. Alrighty guys, so some more continuation of my Havoc crew or my crosses. So these are another 4 hens and 4 cocks. The cocks at the bottom, hens at the top, of my Havoc crew birds. Just they're not the best of show right now because it's cold, the wind dropped. Birds are cold, no doubt about it. But just a little something to show you guys how they look like. A lot of the Rickney birds that we had were just black and whites. So as you can tell, a lot of them are just black and white. This one's kind of got a mosaic look to him. He's got the black grizzle with the red on top of his head. His brother I got his brother, but his brother got hawked, and he was a really nice mosaic. But yeah, it's all part of the game. When you fly birds, you're gonna lose some to the hawks and whatnot. But yeah, guys, these are the birds. And like I mentioned before, as much as the birds fly similar and as much as they didn't, what made me also move forward with this cross was now flying high. Okay, I have over the years really disliked birds that fly super high, or birds that just skies out. Okay. The whole point of enjoying birds is so that we can look up to the sky and see what the birds are doing. And if you cannot see what the birds are doing in the sky, honestly, especially in a performance breed, you can't even judge the quality of the roll. So over the years, I've really learned to dislike high flying birds. Okay, I dislike it, and some people like it, some people don't. A lot of guys who's work with the Rickneys, and they will know this, is that you have a hard time getting them lifted. Okay, the bird just doesn't want to go up. I mean, at a young age, they'll just fly at tree height and they'll just circle around and zigzag through the trees, and it'll drive one crazy. The old school Rickney birds used to take 6 to 9 months before they came in. With these crosses so far, I've realized at 3 months they're mimicking breaks. Okay, at 2 months they're starting to already, and I believe that came from the Courtney side. But yeah, these guys will mimic breaks, and it's really fun watching them do it. If you haven't seen it, it's like a swarm of bees. It's kind of like just birds fluttering all over. You have some that tail rise, you have some that just flutter around, you have some that plate roll. They'll do this whole crazy stuff, and they'll do that 300 feet up, and they'll drop like maybe down to like 200, 150 feet. So it's pretty deep when they do this, and they'll do this for about, I'll say, maybe a month or so. And then you start seeing them coming in, 5-10 feet. And it'll stay that way until they molt, But this cross, the reason why I did this cross is the Rickney birds do not fly high. And then also the Courtney birds do not fly high. And a lot of times you will have to fight them to get them up. So, if you're not good with feed, you're going to have a little bit of problem getting them up because they just don't want to go up, but what I do notice about this family here is, you know, you can feed them wheat, straight wheat, and they'll still fly strong. So the crosses have done good on straight wheat. But you know, to me, they also need to be fed up, kind of like the Courtney birds, because they will get really frequent on you, and I mean really frequent. So, you know, you gotta have to get used to feeding up the birds. You know, you don't really break them down, but you build them up, and you gotta make sure you can maintain them. Is the main thing. But yeah, guys, you know, we will talk about the Courtney birds in another video here, but we're talking about the Havoc crews. And yeah, I know my videos are only like 15 minutes long. I don't plan to do it that way, but you know, that's all I have for space on my phone. And at the same time, you know, like I gotta go check on my kids too. So, but yeah, I just want to mention that to you guys. The crosses has done really well for me, and they are definitely a family of birds that you have to put in a routine to get the best out of them. Okay, if you lock them up for a week or two and you put them up, you know, the good thing about this family is they got that kidding gene that Rick has always talked about. You know, they are really good in chemistry, so they will come out kidding with no outbursts. They will kit perfect. You know, nothing will be wrong with the birds. The only downfall you have is birds that won't roll. Because I mean, you will have some that will roll, but like for them to be explosive, they're not just gonna come out the box being explosive. So that's why I say they are a little bit stiffer than the Courtney birds. Yeah, the Courtney birds will come out hot. You lock them down, you take them, you let them out. You gotta be careful. Put on a helmet. You know, they're gonna come down, and some might even bump on you. And they're just a hot family, okay, from my experience. But I like it. You know, I believe you need that. I believe you need that that hot gene to win the World Cup. I mean, guys, can you imagine a kid scoring over 1,000 points? How fun that would be to watch. You know, here in Minnesota, Wayne Fetter used to fly kits that could score 1,000 points. And I gotta tell you, it was a lot of frequency. It was a lot of spinning. I mean, birds were working. And if you ain't got that kind of work rate, and you know, World Cup now, everybody's flying what? 1,500 point kits. You know, if you can't get that, and if you're afraid of bumpers, you will be, you know, you will be done. You know, you're not going to hang with the best of them. And so that's just my belief. So you do need the frequency. You do need the frequency. And I just want to tell you guys that. And, you know, this is just a little bit. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up, you know, like write some comments down, you know, like my thing about this is I'm bringing it back to the Courtney side. I'm doing one side of the family. I don't want to keep the Rickney family, the Courtney family, and then the crosses. That's just too much time and space, guys. It takes a lot of space to cross birds. And if you're not going to give them the proper time or cross them properly, honestly, you're just going to be flying a whole bunch of birds that's just going to do whatever they want to do in the sky. And I've seen a lot of kits in my pigeon career. And honestly, nothing beats flying a whole family of birds. It's just easier to train. They all react to feed the same way, even if they're off just a little bit, you know. So it's so much easier to fly a whole family. That's why I bred, I think, 160 plus birds of this stuff, just so that I knew and I know how to feed them. You know, take the time to learn to feed, how they react to feed, how they react to, you know, training, how they react flying consistently. How do they react to rest? You need to know all this. If you don't, you're not going to do good in competition, you know? And honestly, I don't just raise birds for competition. I raise it for enjoyment. But I do like to see performances, and I enjoy birds that sync up. That's also why I compete, because you know, it's fun to build a kit like that. I mean, it's hard to get a kit like that. So, you know, to me, getting a bird to roll is pretty simple now. But to get a team to sync up and work together, that's the challenge. And I've seen a lot of frequent birds and families out there that will just break, and eventually they just break all together and sink in and have a good break. But, you know, to me, that's no fun. I like a family that, you know, set up. That's why I talk about the setup. And that's what I'm aiming for with this crew, with this Havoc crew birds. Will I get there? Who knows? You know, but with these birds, they did it right. And that's why they're moving forward. And, you know, these birds were deep as well, too. So that's what I did with this bird. And that's what I'm looking for and looking forward to as I'm moving with this program. And, you know, guys, you have to select birds that will work for your schedule when you have the time for it. You know, you will have to select the right birds no matter what family of birds you are working with. You have to go through, because everybody lives a little bit different. To me, I cannot deal with family of birds that need to be on a strict diet or they need to be measured, because I have kids. I have little kids. I'm going to have another baby here. So I don't have the time to go out here and measure every bird food. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't work for me. Maybe when my kids are all grown up, I'll have the time to do it. But right now, that is not the case for me. So as you guys can tell, you know, I like birds that just are easy to feed. You know, that's why I stuck with the Courtney birds. I mean, I always joked about it, that all you had to do is just feed them breeder mix and put them in competition. And as long as you feed them up, and you'll do good. You'll do something, because the Courtney birds are just simple, very simple. But these Havoc crew birds, they have to be flown. If you don't have the skies to fly, you're gonna have a lot of trouble flying them. You're gonna have a lot of trouble for them committing into the role. So, you know, I noticed that these birds, if you have 2 weeks in advance before competition, if you could get 3 weeks even before competition to get them into the routine, oh man, these birds are consistent. They are consistent. So that's also one thing that I really like about the Rickmees birds, and that's why I did this cross, and that's what I also like about this. So, you know, I'm hoping to carry that over to this family of it. I am expecting them to be a lot different from the pure Courtneys and from the Rickme birds. I mean, when people see these birds fly, I'm hoping they see the big difference in performance, flying pattern, and everything, because, you know, the Courtney birds tend to get very frequent. Not saying that they don't have the breaking power, okay? I'm not saying that they do. But, you know, birds that don't set up don't tend to always sink in the roll. So you get a lot of 5, 6, 7 bird breaks, you know. When you get a setup family, you tend to get more like a 10, 11, 12 bird break. So more bigger digits, you know. And if you look at the South Africans videos, the Masons, the bikers that people have, they have a setup family. You know, the birds where they kind of just hit a spot where they just slow down and bam. Even the Irish bird that Brian McCormick is posting up. Brian, I'm sorry to mention you. I have not met you yet, but the video you post up, I'm just referring to. Hopefully it's okay with you. But yeah, I just, you know, like stuff like that. When you go online, you watch their birds, they have that pause and then bam, they hit it. They hit that roll. You know, to me, that's what I call setup. And in my opinion, birds like that can break up bigger than birds that don't do that. So, all right, guys, cutting it short again, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Feel free to hit me up with questions. All right, bye.